Last night, on War and Remembrance,
Halt!
a last-minute reprieve saves Natalie from transport to the east.
I'll pick my occasion when all three of them are present. Hitler, Goering, and Himmler.
And a conspiracy is formed to assassinate Hitler.
How will you do it?
With a bomb.
With 36 hours of endurable weather, we can land the troops and hold the beachhead.
Till we meet again.
They've come up against a curtain of steel and fire.
Okay, we go.
The Allies have driven past the beaches at 4 locations.
They told me to report to SS headquarters tomorrow morning at 8.
Stop! You are the dirty little Jewish whore who has been plotting against the German government.
And now...
June the 22nd, 1944, and the great day has finally arrived. Tomorrow the Red Cross comes to view the beautification and to verify that Theresienstadt is indeed the paradise ghetto that the Germans claim it to be. Clean-up and painting squads are still feverishly working. The Germans have thought of everything, from delivering Red Cross packages withheld for months to bringing from the Prague storehouses of Jewish loot loads of elegant finery for those inmates who will be on show. They've even gone so far as to distribute cosmetics and set up a beauty parlor for the women. Natalie is there right now. Tomorrow, our newly decorated posh flat will be one of the important stops on the tour. And the noted author, after showing the visitors through the rooms, will offer them cognac and then take them to the synagogue and the Judaica library. The mood in the ghetto is manic. There are those who believe the Red Cross people will not be taken in by the farce. Those same optimists believed only 2 short weeks ago that the Americans would soon come smashing through France all the way to Prague and liberate the ghetto. But in fact, Rommel has got the Allied invasion bogged down in the Normandy marshes, and the Russians still have not moved.
Aaron, it's happened. The Russians have attacked.
Another ghetto rumor?
Fact. I heard it myself. BBC and a Czech language broadcast out of Moscow.
Huh.
I went to the Dresden barracks, down to the boiler room where they have the secret radio.
You know that you had a serious warning from the SS.
I had to go. And it's true. Radio Stockholm confirmed it. A giant attack as big as the Allied invasion of France.
Well, this calls for a celebration, don't you think so, Natalie? few drops less for our Red Cross visitors. The SS won't mind that, I'm sure.
L'chaim.
Not bad.
If the people dared, they'd be dancing in the streets. They're saying the Germans will collapse in a week.
Perhaps. Natalie, do you think we ought to still go ahead with Beryl's plans for trying to spirit Lewis out of here? Is it still worth the risk?
He goes. Nothing will change that.
Well, Godspeed the Russians.
And the Allies.
June 23rd, 1944. The beautification tour begins at noon. It is designed to impress four men. Franz Wass, the Danish diplomat who has been pressing Berlin for this visit. Dr. Jule Henningsen of the Danish Red Cross. Dr. Martin Russell of the German office of the International Red Cross in Berlin. Eberhard von Taden, a German career diplomat. Taden handles Jewish affairs in the foreign ministry. Adolf Eichmann transports Jews to their deaths. Taden pries them out of the countries where they hold citizenship and delivers them to Eichmann.
If you will come into this other part of the apartment, you will see that I've got a splendid bedroom for myself, with an excellent view of the square, and that they are treating me with extreme kindness.
Oh ja, ich fühle mich sehr gut.
Gentlemen, let's go.
Písničku některou, hlavně hodně veselou. Kočičce, o bábě, o holčičce, o jaru, o lesu,
Und Gott hat gemacht, dass der Reuterjam sich teilt auf 2 Hälften. Und Moshe Rabbeinu hat gekannt gehen durch den Reuterjam mit allen seinen Menschen und war tricknisch.
Alle Sardinen.
Sardines and Gilgaram. On est danse sur les ponts, Réunion. On est danse sur les ponts.
Gentlemen, congratulations on your successful visit to Theresienstadt. And I wish you a very good journey home.
Prost.
Prost.
The tour has taken 8 hours, and history will show that the 6-month effort was well worth it. Some written reports of the visitors will survive, and on later reading, they will be seen to glow with approbation of the splendid conditions in Theresienstadt. More like an ideal suburban community, one will sum up, than a concentration camp. After the war, Franz Voss will be challenged in the Danish parliament to explain how he was duped by the Germans. Voss will reply that he was not in the least fooled. He will say that he could see the visit was staged and that he just turned in a favorable report to assure continued and good treatment of the Danish Jews. He will maintain that accusing the Germans of crimes that could not be proven in wartime would have only made matters worse for the Jews still alive in their hands. And so he kept silent, like many others who knew, and kept silent. The question remains, however, with knowledge of the great secret massacre becoming daily more widespread, How could matters have been made worse?
They knew it, Aaron. They knew it was all a fake. You could tell it in their faces, and they won't do a thing.
Where have you been?
I had to turn back every toy in the pavilion, every piece of candy.
Yeah, they came and fetched the cognac, too. They measured what was left. They're coming tomorrow to fetch everything else.
People are still lined up outside, giving back the food and clothes. The SS are threatening to send anyone keeping anything straight to the little fortress.
Natalie, your son has been taken to the hospital.
What? What is...
I don't know. He had a very high fever. Just come.
Go ahead, Leslie. I'll put on some clothes and follow you immediately.
The diagnosis is typhus, Mrs. Henry. He's been isolated. I'm sorry you can't see him.
I will. I must. I'm his mother.
All right, Mrs. Henry. Come with me. Mrs. Henry, it's not wise for you to be here.
Not wise. It's my child. He's sick.
Mrs. Henry, no. This was all arranged.
Oh, my God. I didn't realize.
Listen here.
Oh, Louis.
The fever was brought on by an injection. It will be gone shortly, that I promise you. By then, he'll be dead and gone.
I didn't know it would be like this. I may never see him again. Please let me in to see him.
Mrs. Henry, you must maintain the facade. You could be risking everything. Your life and his, if you're seen.
Please, just for a moment.
Only for a moment.
Darling, I love you. I haven't make it here.
I know. But you must be a big, brave boy.
I'm under the stairs.
I can. But it'll only be for a little while. And then Mommy will come and find you. And then we won't ever, ever be away from each other again. You must go to sleep now. And Mommy has to go to the apartment.
What do you say to me?
Unter Louis Wegele steht ein chlorweiß Siegele. Das Siegele ist geboren an Land. Das wird einen Baum, Roschenkäse mit Mandeln, Schlusche
Front, the invasion of France has seriously bogged down. 62,000 Allied troops are dead or wounded. But in the Pacific, The U.S. naval superiority is assuming overwhelming proportions. In mid-June, under the command of Admiral Raymond Spruance, the U.S. mounts the biggest assault of the Pacific War in the Marianas to seize Saipan, nearby Tinian, and recapture Guam within bombing range of Tokyo. The Imperial Japanese fleet sails in full force to oppose this mortal threat to the homeland. And the resulting action turns into the Battle of the Philippine Sea. The Japanese lose at least 400 aircraft and 3 carriers. In fact, so many enemy planes are shot down that the battle will come to be known as the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. The defeat will lead to the fall of the Tojo government, and the Japanese will never again be able to mount an effective offensive in the Pacific. Meanwhile, on the Eastern Front, the Soviet Union, which launched its attack with 1,200,000 men, 5,000 tanks, and 6,000 airplanes, has by the middle of July swept across White Russia and is marching deep into Poland. And the Poles rise up in arms to fight side by side with the Red Army against their German oppressors. July 17th, 1944, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel returns to his headquarters from an inspection tour of his embattled Normandy front.
Waited on the 15th for the signal from Waldstrasse. Everything was set for Valkyrie. Paris, Vienna, Berlin. Everywhere on full alert. You were right there at the Führer's elbow. Why didn't you do it?
Himmler never arrived, so I didn't fuse the bomb. Next Führer conference is day after tomorrow.
That's the 20th?
Yes, July 20th. Now, what's this meeting with the General von Beck about?
I don't know, but he says it's very urgent.
You have lost your last chance.
Why? I'm going there again.
Then you haven't heard.
Heard what?
Rommel. He has been badly wounded. He may be dead by now.
You should have done it when we still had Rommel. Now what?
Xavius.
It's good, lady.
Yes.
Good.
Glad you're here. My informant in the Gestapo just told me, not 15 minutes ago,
but a warrant is being processed for your arrest.
It's no more than I expected for months.
That settles it. The whole thing is unraveling. 2 days from now, we'll be living in a different society. A free Germany.
How can you proceed without Rommel?
Once you're hauled in, can you withstand a Gestapo interrogation? There's your answer. The whole enterprise hangs by a hair. We've crossed the Rubicon. It's our last chance. Rommel or no Rommel. On July 20th, I'll kill him. And Valkyrie goes.
Pilot, your pepper, please. Thank you.
Sein Tor aufmachen!
General Feldgiebel. Stauffenberg, good to see you. Come into the office.
I'm due in the map room at 1. Are you ready to notify our people in Berlin?
Yes.
What about the others?
All telephone, telegraph, and radio communications will be cut immediately after. How much time have you given yourself?
10 minutes. Too short. The shorter the fuse, the shorter the risk of the bomb being discovered.
But when will you set it?
Right before I begin.
You know Himmler and Goering. They won't be at the meeting.
Damn. No matter.
But Rohn has just returned from Berlin. He will be there.
Yes, I know. But it can't be helped. Feldgiebel. This will be Germany's greatest day. Now I'm to report to Keitel's quarters.
Good thing you're early, Stauffenberg. The Führer's conference has been put forward to 12:30. Yes, Mussolini will arrive by train at 2:30, so military matters will have to be sped along. You're requested to make your report a brief one. I will notify you exactly when I want you to give it. Are you ready? Come along, Stauffenberg. It is time.
Certainly, Feldmarschall.
All right, von Johl.
Allow me, Colonel.
No, thank you, thank you. Just a moment, Feldmarschall. I'm out of uniform. I've forgotten my cap.
Marshal is waiting. The conference is beginning.
I'd misplaced the report.
Viele Frauen und Männer werden zur Errichtung eines Schutzwalls unser Land eingesetzt werden.
Oberscharführer? I'm expecting an urgent call from my Berlin office. Important information for the Führer. You will summon me immediately when the call comes.
Ja, Herr Oberst Stauffenberg.
Überall werden die Arbeiten auf das Mindestmaß herabgesetzt werden. Zur Mobilisierung der Kampf- und Arbeitskräfte im lettischen Raum hat General Dankers folgenden Aufruf erlassen.
Mein Führer, Oberst Graf Stauffenberg has a very fine report to make on the Home Army divisions for East Prussia.
Zurück zum Aufruf von General Dankers, mein Führer, damit Sie sehen, dass unsere Verbündeten sich auf das deutsche Heer verlassen können. Volksgenossen und Volksgenossinnen, der Aufruf von General Jeckeln vom 16. Juli ist ein überzeugender Beweis, dass in diesem Augenblick der Gefahr das lettische Volk nicht allein dasteht, dass uns die heldenhafte deutsche Wehrmacht schützt und bis zum Letzten verteidigen wird. Die deutsche Wehrmacht, die uns schon vor 3 Jahren vom Joch der Bolschewisten befreit hat. Der Führer Großdeutschlands hat befohlen, den baltischen Raum zu befestigen und dazu alle Kräfte zu mobilisieren. Daher werden schon in den nächsten Tagen alle waffenfähigen Männer zum Schutz und zur Sicherung der Grenzen unseres Landes einberufen. Und viele Frauen und Männer werden zur Errichtung eines Schutzwalles um unser Land eingesetzt werden. Diese totale Mobilmachung unseres Volkes wird unser ganzes Leben in weitem Maße berühren. In Behörden, Betrieben, überall werden die Arbeiten auf das Mindestmaß herabgesetzt werden, um Kräfte zum Schutz des Vaterlandes freizumachen.
How long?
A little under 3 minutes.
Nordöstlich des Ladoga-Sees gab es hauptsächlich beiderseitige Spähtrupptätigkeit. Östlich von Uksujärvi wurden die mit schweren Waffen unterstützten feindlichen Angriffe abgewehrt oder feindliche Abteilungen schon in der Bereitstellung zersprengt. Im Gelände zwischen Loimoljärvi und Sujojärvi dauerten die wechselvollen Kämpfe an. Eine Verstärkung unserer Truppe in diesen Regionen ist zurzeit nicht nötig. Wie lange unseren Truppen ihre Stellung ist.
Oberscharführer. Oberst Graf Stauffenberg. Have you seen him?
Yes, Herr Feldmarschall. He left the building not a moment ago.
Feindliche Angriffe.
One minute.
Und zwar westlich von der Dwina. Seine Vorhut ist schon bis südöstlich von Dunaburg vorgedrungen. Hier. Wenn wir uns beim Peipus-See nicht sofort zurückziehen, ist eine Katastrophe nicht zu vermeiden.
The Antichrist is dead. Feldgiebel, quickly. Berlin now. Valkyrie is on. Tell them we're on our way. Driver!
What's the meaning of this? Raise that barrier. Can't you see what's happened back there? This is urgent Führer business.
I'm sorry, sir. No one passes until I have authorization.
Then you shall have it.
Yes? Colonel Stauffenberg here, Captain. They're trying to prevent me from passing the first checkpoint. Yes. Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you, Captain. Thank you. Lieutenant, you've heard. I'm allowed to pass. Raise the barrier. Lieutenant, the barrier!
Raise the barrier!
Thank you, Lieutenant. Now you will be good enough to notify the other checkpoints of our approach.
Driver.
Who was that on the telephone?
No one.
One more to go.
What was it? Plane? Were we attacked? It was a bomb, mein Führer! A bomb? Someone planted a bomb! Bomb? Seal off the compound! Let no one leave! You hear me? No one leave!
Oberst Stauffenberg, Scharführer. I'm to be allowed through. Urgent Führer business in Berlin.
I am sorry, Oberst. I have orders that no one to leave the compound.
Your telephone, Scharführer. Möllendorf, this is Oberst Stauffenberg. General Fromm is waiting for me at the airfield. Urgent Führer business in Berlin. Are we allowed to pass checkpoint 3? Yes. Yes, thank you, Hauptmann. Thank you.
You heard, Scharführer.
We're allowed through.
Excuse me, please, Oberst. But I will have to call Hauptmann von Mollendorf myself.
Very well, Scharführer. By all means, call him.
What are we going to do?
Quiet.
Hauptmann von Mollendorf. This is Scharführer Kobe at checkpoint 3. Is Oberst Stauffenberger allowed to pass? Thank you. Oberst, you are authorized to pass.
Thank you, Scharführer.
Raise the barrier.
But you weren't talking to anyone.
This time I was.
Wo ist der Führer? Folgen Sie mir, Reichsmarschall. Mein Führer, I came as soon as I could. Morel?
Nothing serious, Herr Reichsmarschall, but you must speak up. His ears have been slightly injured.
What happened?
A bomb. A criminal conspiracy, Goering. They'll all hang like butchered cattle.
Who did it?
That crippled colonel. With a briefcase bomb. And escaped to the airfield.
Stauffenberg?
Can you believe it? The alarm is out for him. We'll get him. We'll get them all. Now I've got them where I want them. Now I can act.
But such a thing at our own headquarters.
It is a turn of fate. After this miracle of my survival, it is inconceivable that our cause should meet with misfortune. It will rally the people to me like nothing else. And it frees my hands. Prepare a list, Goering, of those who will die.
With the news that Hitler escaped serious injury and is still in command, the Stauffenberg conspiracy quickly fizzles and the Berlin uprising is crushed. That same night, after a few hours of aborted activity and multiple bungling, Stauffenberg and some of the others are apprehended, sentenced to death by an instant kangaroo court. They will be summarily executed.
Long live Holy Germany!
And so begins the bloodbath. Adolf Hitler will slaughter all surviving opposition. More than 5,000 Germans, most of them innocent, including the last remnants of the old aristocracy, like Count Klaus Schenk von Stauffenberg. On this same night, Hitler's global opponent has a very different turn of destiny.
I present to this convention for the office of President of these United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
And the banners are really moving now. This place is a bedlam. This is the wildest demonstration of the convention thus far. Chicago Stadium is on fire with enthusiasm for Roosevelt's fourth term. Right off to the
Congratulations, Mr. President.
It will be by acclamation. Nominated for a fourth term.
Every fiber of my being cries out against doing this. But Hitler must be finished off.
July the 23rd. The war news is becoming glorious. A group of German generals have actually tried to kill Hitler. German morale is clearly cracking. The Anglo-Americans are breaking out of their Normandy bridgehead, and the Russians are driving deep into Poland. Still, all this does little to relieve the macabre gloom in our flats. Alas, whose ashes are those on the shelf? Natalie has had no word for a month. Just the grisly death notice, and then the horrible delivery of the small container. Meantime, there has been a miraculous break here in the ghetto. The beautification fake was such a success that the SS higher-ups in Berlin have decided to repeat it and make a film of it to counteract the mounting Allied atrocity propaganda, as Goebbels calls it, about murder camps and gas chambers. The film is called Führer Grants the Jews a Town. Combing the concentration camp rosters, Rahm found a Dutch Jew filmmaker who will direct this fraudulent nonsense. I am writing the script. In the film, the toddler's home will be prominently featured.
Good afternoon, Herr Commandant.
That brat of yours was good. Very good, your little brat. I remember. Go and get him, so the Herr Director can hear the song he sang. Well? What are you waiting for? I told you to bring him out!
sorry, Herr Kommandant. But my son has died.
Died?
Yes, he came down with the typhus.
That's too bad. Choose another one, but a lively one. One who can sing the little French song as well as your kid did. I want it in the film. Da 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 dee da da dee da dee da. Remember.
Yes, Herr Kommandant. As you wish, Herr Kommandant. Viens, Alice. N'aie pas peur, ma chérie.
What a God-given reprieve the film is. It will take a month to prepare and at least a month to shoot. And if somebody in the collapsing Berlin regime doesn't think of countermanding it, the cameras may be inanely grinding away when Russian or American tanks come crashing through the Bozovici Gate. Thank God this once for the Nazi passion for crude fraud.
That would be Douglas MacArthur.
Reasonable guess, Mr. President.
Shall we go to my cabin, Chester?
Yes,
President Roosevelt and Admiral Chester Nimitz await the arrival of General Douglas MacArthur. To be discussed, the future strategy of the Pacific War.
Douglas, where do we go from here?
The Philippines, Mr. President. Leyte first, then Luzon.
Well, Admiral?
Japan has no oil and precious little food. She brings it all in from the south, from the Indies and into China. Cork that bottle, Mr. President, and she can't go on fighting the war.
How cork that bottle?
Bypass the Philippines, land on Formosa, or even, as Spruance has suggested, Okinawa. Interdict all Jap shipping with sea and air power. Collapse and surrender has to follow.
National honor demands we first liberate the Philippines.
Allow me to quote Admiral King. That would be slowing up the war for mere sentimental reasons.
National honor is a strong sentiment. Can you take the Philippines with the forces you've got? I can't spare anything from Europe when at last we've got Hitler on the run.
If Nimitz will support me with his fast carriers, I will take the Philippines, Mr. President.
Well, it'll all be up to the Joint Chiefs, of course. I'll have my rest now. And then I shall return to this subject. A sea voyage doesn't make me snap back the way it used to.
You are lucky to be alive.
And so are you, my friend. But at least you are wounded in battle.
Such an idiotic mistake. Such bungling. I was always against it. He should have been arrested and brought to trial, but now he is a wounded hero.
But now also, the world knows there is opposition to him. Possibilities may open up for ending the war.
On the contrary, I know the man. After he gets through killing off the opposition, he'll fight until not a house in Germany is left standing. This fiasco means that the war will drag on at least for another year.
Then God help Germany.
Amen.
Major General Helmut Stieg. This fellow takes a good long while to grow.
He's giving us quite a rope dance. How many more did you say there were?
7, mein Führer.
I want this film shown in all army headquarters and every officer's school. Gentlemen, this is what happens to traitors.
Generalleutnant von Hase.
Lou. Lou, in a quarter of an hour, I'll be dead.
But Father, why did you never say anything? I never suspected.
I did not intend for you to suspect. In view of my services in Africa, they say I have my choice. A trial for high treason or dying of poison. They brought the stuff with them that's fatal in 3 seconds. The story will be a brain seizure. And I'll get a state funeral. No steps will be taken against my family or staff.
In the life of a soldier, there's a very difficult line between military loyalty, carrying out orders no matter what, and criminal stupidity. Manfred, never be a soldier.
Ich muss Sie um Ihre Waffe bitten, Herr Feldmarschall.
August the 18th, 1944, filming has begun. Besides performing in my own library sequence, I've been rewriting the script night and day under the interminable meddling of Rahm. Thank God for the film, because Eisenhower's armies are once again doing brilliantly. They've broken out of their Normandy entrapment and are now racing across France. This war could end any day now. It was during one of the rehearsals that I received the news that has made this the brightest day in all my years.
Thank God he's alive. He looks so well. So beautiful. Thank God.
Yes, thank God indeed. And Beryl Jastrow.
The Allied triumphant dash across France continues. On August 25th, Paris is liberated. At the same time, the Red Army, with the support of Tito's Yugoslav partisans, is driving deep into the Balkans. By the end of the month, Romania and the Ploiesti oil fields fall. Bulgaria withdraws. Elsewhere, Finland capitulates. And by September 1st, the Red Army stands on the Bulgarian frontier before the iron gates of the Danube. Meanwhile, Field Marshal Montgomery's combined British and Canadian forces smash into Belgium and Holland. September 3rd, Brussels falls. Antwerp the following day. And Patton's Third Army takes Verdun. On the Western Front alone, German armies have lost over 1 million men in killed, wounded, and captured. And almost all of their tanks, artillery, and trucks. And as the month of September unfolds, American forces reach the German border before Aachen on the Moselle. But there they stop. And in the east, the Russian sweep across Poland is finally halted at the Vistula, opposite Warsaw. Overextended supply lines and stiffening German resistance finally brings the whole Allied offensive to a grinding halt. The astounded German High Command calls it the September Miracle. But elsewhere in Poland, the Red Army has overrun a vast extermination camp called Majdanek. The Russians bring in 30 correspondents for the world's first glimpse of the final solution. But the BBC refuses to run the story, dismissing it as a Soviet propaganda stunt. And the American press is just as skeptical. Inconceivable, says the New York Herald Tribune, and Majdanek is buried on the back pages.
And on the next page, we'll lose this line. It doesn't mean anything anymore. And
You have 5 days to finish the film. 5 days, and not a day more.
But, Herr Kommandant, we will not be able to photograph your best scenes, your inspirations.
Photograph what you can. 5 days. Finish.
The Majdanek exposures.
Moscow radio's been endlessly rebroadcasting the horrible details.
So our reprieve expires in less than a week.
Then what?
September the 26th, 1944, 5 a.m. The fourth transport since the end of filming 11 days ago leaves in a few hours. And that will be the end of my Theresienstadt Talmud class. For Yuri, Joshua, and Jan are going. We stayed up all night studying because the boys wanted to learn until the last. But as dawn began to break, and I finally closed the old volume, Joshua, the brightest of my 3 remaining lads, asked me a question that abruptly yanked me back to the present.
Rebbe, are we all going to be gassed?
No, Joshua. You're going to be joining your father. And you boys, Yuri and Jan, your elder brothers, at a building project near Dresden. That is what we of the council have been informed. And I firmly believe it to be true.
Transport. You said the Germans promised the 4th was the last.
Ordered not 2 hours after the 4th one left. 1,100 people. We've been working on the lists for hours. Whole families have been broken up. Large numbers of the sick and women with small children will have to go.
If Lois was still here, I'd probably have to go too.
Well, I will not yield to despair. Hitler's Reich is falling. The civilized world, may it smash into the lunatic enclave of Nazi Europe. Time to save our remnant.
No matter what happens, I'm going to survive. And I'm going to find Lois.
Dearest Victor, I'm sorry, darling, but I'm going to write about nothing but death. 3 shocks have struck in just 2 weeks. Duncan Byrne Wilkes died, swept away by pneumonia. The other 2, Philip Rule and Leslie Sloat. Dear God, I'm tortured by guilt over Duncan. If I'd only stayed on at Stoneford and cared for him, said nothing, maybe he wouldn't have sickened and died. But I'll never know, will I? Oh, Victor, this fall has been so altogether awful. The buzz bombs were bad enough, but these new horrors, huge rockets that arrive and fall without a sound, have thrown us into a funk. After all the wretched years of war, after the great Normandy landings and the sweep through France with victory apparently days away, we're back in the Blitz. It's just too damn much. The sirens, the all-night fires, the explosions, the rubble, the civilian death. It was all over again. Ghastly. It was a V-2 rocket that killed Phil Rule, poor thing. It blew the newsman's pub he haunted to smithereens, leaving nothing but a crater. And Leslie Sloat. Another pointless death. Perhaps a tragically predictable end to those sudden heroics of his, dying in a Brittany port that Eisenhower had already bypassed, leaving the German garrison to wither. A death of sheer waste. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scribble such a depressing letter to you. I might have good news in my next one. If my resignation from the WATS is accepted, I can start planning to join you. It's in the works. Horribly unpatriotic, but I may just pull it off. I don't really expect to be knocked on the head by a V2, and if I should be, it's a quick, painless exit from this crazed world. I only want to live to love you. Everything else is gone. But that's enough to build on for me. All my love, Pamela.
Come in.
Admiral, Captain Oliver reports we will moor at 0830 in Ulithi, North Anchorage.
Very well.
Op order and filing briefs for Admiral Halsey's battle conference, sir. Set for 10:30 aboard the New Jersey.
Order my barge at 0830.
Aye, aye, sir. We have a harbor circuit dispatch from the commanding officer of the Barracuda, Admiral, in the South Anchorage.
The Barracuda?
He requests permission to call on you. Sir, isn't your son the exec of the Barracuda?
He is, or he was, the last I heard. Reply, CO Barracuda. My barge will fetch you 1700. Dinner my quarters.
Aye, aye, sir.
Gentlemen, the Japs are hardly likely to stand idly by while MacArthur recaptures the Philippines and cuts off all that oil, metal, food. In fact, I'm betting they'll send every warship they've got to stop those lady landings. And if they don't, I may just have to go out looking for them. Now's the time to finish the Japs. Now, when they're losing their grip, even with their tails. Vic Carney will take any questions on op order.
Mark Mitchell.
At the Marianas Turkish shoot, we let the Jap fleet escape because our mission was to protect the Saipan landings.
That was Admiral Spruance's decision.
Oh? Is it going to happen again?
I'll answer that. Let me read to you, gentlemen, verbatim from Admiral Nimitz's directive to me. Your battle force will cover and support the forces under General MacArthur in the seizure of all objectives in the Philippines. However, in case opportunity for destruction of major portions of the enemy fleet is offered or can be created, such destruction becomes the primary task. I had one hell of a job getting that put into my orders for Lady Gulf, but there it stands. Therefore, we know why we're going to Lady. To annihilate the Japanese fleet if opportunity offers. This time, they don't escape. Bug Henry.
Well, I'm sort of junior here.
Fresh blood, gentlemen. Go ahead, Bug. Speak your piece.
Admiral Spruance stayed close to Saipan to prevent the Japs from getting around behind them with an end run and wiping out the Marine landing.
That was his reasoning.
Well, don't we run such a risk here again?
Pug, when we get through hitting them, there won't be any Japs left to make an end run.
Admiral, your barge is approaching.
Request permission to come aboard, sir?
Permission granted.
Admiral.
Commander? Log my visitor aboard, commanding officer of the Barracuda, SS-204, Lieutenant Commander Byron Henry, USNR.
Aye, sir.
So, when did all this happen?
Matter of fact, only 3 days ago. The size of the eye with that, what a beauty.
Yeah, she's put together like a Swiss watch. Maybe we'll mosey around after a while.
I'm pretty tight for time.
Come on over here. You don't get a view like that from a submarine.
God, no. Doesn't it beat anything in history?
Well, Eisenhower had a bigger fleet for the crossing to Normandy, but for striking power, you're right. The Earth has never before seen its like.
What's your guess, Dad? I think the Japs will come?
It's a toss-up. Halsey's tongue is hanging out, hoping they will.
Well, if they do, Halsey will cream them.
We outnumber them 3-1, but they're tricky. If they manage to get in and crush MacArthur's Landing, it becomes a different war. Come on, let's go have dinner.
Some setup.
Well, it beats a desk in Washington.
Yeah. Who is that? Isn't that Pam Tusbury?
Byron, it's a long story. I'll explain it over dinner.
No, it's your life. I don't think it needs much explanation. Think I wrote you about this?
Oh, the Red Cross photo, yeah. Well, they both certainly look very well. How big that boy of yours is.
It was taken in June. God knows what's happened since. Red Cross has ignored my letters, and the State Department's a total blank. Might as well not exist.
Well, just seeing this does my heart good. Sit down, we'll have dinner.
No, thanks, Dad. I better be getting back. We sortie at 0500.
Byron, dinner takes 15 minutes.
Okay, 15 minutes.
I'll see to it. Aren't you one of the first reserve skippers in the whole submarine fleet?
Guess being your son didn't hurt my chances much.
You had to have the record. How'd it come about?
Skipper took sick out on station off Cebudo. Figured Subpac would fly out of CO, but they sent out an XO instead, and I got the orders. Still not used to it. You still have Mom's picture, the one that used to be in that frame? If you do, I'll take it.
I have it, but not here.
What happened between you two, anyway?
Well, son, the war.
Uh-huh. Let me ask you something. Did Mom ask for the divorce so as to marry this Peters character, or did you want it because of her?
Ernie, don't look for someone to blame. About Pamela, she's young, I know that. They may not come off, but
I said it's your life.
I'm sorry you're taking it.
Dad, the truth is I came here looking for a shot in the arm, and instead, I get this.
Franny, what is it?
I don't know if I'm fit for command.
Com Subpack thinks you are.
Subpack can't look into my mind.
What's your problem?
Possible instability under combat stress.
Franny, you're cool by nature. Under severest stress, I know that.
I lost Astor.
You did what you could.
Did I?
Franny.
Look. This whole thing with Natalie and Lewis is making me nuts. And your divorce hasn't helped matters either. Now, I can take the Barracuda back to Saipan and ask for relief. Or I can go out on a lifeguard station off Formosa as ordered for the airstrikes. What do I do?
Only you can make that decision.
Oh, great. I mean, you were willing to decide my whole life for me, weren't you? You know, if you hadn't pushed me into sub school, if you hadn't flown down to Miami the very day I proposed to Natalie and forced the issue with her sitting right there, she wouldn't have gone back to Europe. She and my kid wouldn't be there now if, in fact, they're alive.
Franny, I regret what I did. At the time, it seemed right.
Okay. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have brought it up.
Franny, when I was in bad shape myself, I requested the Northampton. To me, command at sea made life more bearable because it was so all-absorbing.
I'm not a professional like you. I better get back to my boat. There's something else. My XO's an academy man. Taking orders from me grates on him.
Judge him by his performance at sea, Byron, not by what he feels.
Well, I guess this is it.
Franny, we may be headed out to the greatest sea fight in the history of the world. Both of us. Good luck and good hunting.
Bye, Dad. Request permission to leave the ship, sir.
Permission granted.
Sixth Army, with massive naval support, lands more than 100,000 troops inside Leyte Gulf. And so General Douglas MacArthur's 2.5-year-old promise, "I shall return," is fulfilled. In a desperate gamble to smash the invasion, Japan orders nearly its entire fleet to sea. And on the morning of October 23rd, the curtain rises on the most massive fleet battle in the history of naval warfare. In addition to her warships, Japan has dispatched a new weapon to Leyte, the Divine Wind. Kamikaze pilots, whose suicidal plunges into their targets will, before the war is over, sink 34 U.S. ships and damage 290 others. The battle will rage 4 days and 4 nights. across 1,000 square miles of Philippine waters. Inexcusable blunders will be made on both sides. But in the end, the Japanese are finally defeated and turn back, while the MacArthur landings go unscathed. American Leyte losses amount to fewer than 10 vessels. The Japanese lose 3 battleships, 4 aircraft carriers, 6 heavy cruisers, and more than 14 lesser warships. For the Imperial Navy, it is the final disaster. Beaten and broken, that fleet will never sail again.
This strange and tarnished victory only proves to me the subhuman stupidity of warfare in our age of science and industry. The technology and the means now dwarf the results. Either war is finished, or we are.
Theresienstadt is a desolate and terrible scene. Perhaps 12,000 people are left, and any hope of rescue by the stalled Allied armies has sadly faded. In less than a month since the filming ended, the trains have taken away almost 20,000. I've lost track of how many I have condemned to the east by my own hand. All those who have gone were under the age of 65. Above that age, one is still safe. There is no hot food, not even the wretched slops of yesterday. Garbage piles up because there's no one left to remove it. The hospitals are empty, for all the sick were transported. The gimcrackery of the beautification is falling apart in the harsh weather. The music that was once so much a part of daily life here is vanished. Despite dire warnings by the SS, the old people pilfer the planks for what is left for firewood. There have been other changes as well. The new High Elder who replaced the mysteriously vanished Epstein is his old deputy, Dr. Murmelstein of Vienna, the former rabbi and university lecturer. I'm sure it was the SS who put him up to designating me as his chief deputy. He worked on me for hours with a wearisome flood of flattery and argument.
Forgetting that only this office stands between our people and the cruel hand of the Germans. And as for myself, who, I ask you, has worked more unceasingly to reduce hardship and to save lives, oftentimes at great personal risk. Those efforts must continue, and I must have your help.
Doctor, the truth is that whatever real good this Council of Elders has been able to do to help our people, it wasn't ever very much. All we're doing now is to try and save our necks. Selfishly trying to postpone our own fate by organizing and sending out the transports. No! As I told you yesterday, I simply will no longer be a party to it. I refuse to be deputy to your dirty work. I've done with it for good.
You realize what you risk?
I've lived my life. Whatever my frail old body must endure, I'm quite prepared to risk it.
Professor, I'm utterly incapable of continuing on alone. You have no idea of the burdens of this office. They're overpowering. I was counting on your help. I respect you more than almost anyone else in the ghetto. You, a scholar like me.
If the burdens of this office are too great for you, Dr. Murmelstein, I would suggest that you do the same thing as I do. Lay them down. As for your flattering regard for me, well, perhaps the SS will arrange for us 2 fellow scholars to share the same train together on our journey to the East. Good day to you.
My words to Murmelstein were no false bravado. I have not become any braver, But there really are things worse than pain, worse than dying. Besides, a Jew in the grip of Germans probably has no way in the long run of escaping pain or death unless the outside world rescues him. He may as well do what is right.
We leave on the 28th of October. On the 11th, transport.
I'm ready to go. But I had hoped that your job in the mica factory would continue to protect you. Of course, I can go back to Mermelstein, say that I acted too hastily, but I've thought it over.
No.
Natalie, you must go on living for Louis's sake.
Aaron, I don't want you to protect me by sending Jews off in trains.
That's the way I talk to Mermelstein. But you and I both know that the transports will go in any case.
Not by your hand, though.
Yehorig, Be'alia Harog. From the Talmud, my dear. Let yourself be killed, but do not kill.
Sounds like common decency to me.
Yes, it is. I, Aaron Jastrow, the Jew, in my 72nd year, am going to my death. I have heard that strong young people are spared to work in Auschwitz, so my niece may survive. I began this record of a journey aboard a vessel docked in Naples Harbor in December 1941. Mischance and misjudgments brought myself and my niece to Theresienstadt. Here I have seen German barbarism and duplicity with my own eyes and have tried to record the truth the best I could. Millions of Jews, I now believe, have already perished at German hands. 1 million or more of these must have been little children. The world will be a long time fathoming this fact about human nature, this thing that the Germans have done. I'm terribly afraid of dying. I'm bowed to the ground by the tragedy of my people. But I have experienced a strange, bitter happiness in Theresienstadt that I missed as an American professor and a fashionable author living in a Tuscan villa. Degraded, hungry, oppressed, beaten, frightened, I found my God and my self-respect. I have taught bright-eyed, sharp-minded Jewish boys the Talmud. I do not know whether one of them still lives, but the words of the Talmud lived on our lips and burned in our minds. I was born to carry that flame. Now I will return to Auschwitz. And there, the Jew's journey will end. I am ready. These scattered notes, much more than anything else I have written, must serve as the mark over the emptiness that will be my grave. Hopefully, someday they will be discovered, but probably not until long after the war, when wreckers or renovators may come and let sunlight into the walls and crevices of these mournful old buildings. Earth, cover not their blood. Aaron Jastrow, October the 28th, 1944, Theresienstadt.
The last transport to Auschwitz. Knowing the war is lost, SS Chief Heinrich Himmler, in a desperate attempt to save his own neck, is about to order the gassings halted. But bureaucratic delay in reversing policy will allow this last train to roll.
Dr. Jethro! Dr. Jethro! You will ride up ahead in the passenger coach.
I'd rather stay here with my niece.
Don't argue, it will be the worst for you.
Who are you?
No, it's all right, Natalie. He's one of the elders. Leon Carmel, head of the transport section.
Go where you are told. Quick march. Was ist hier los? Einsteigen! Wer bald!
Sei mutig.
Gut.
Keep up your spirits. The SS.
Go!
Oh, Dr. Jastro, may I take your bag for you?
How kind of you. Thank you very much.
Please, sit down.
Why are we traveling with the SS?
We are to prominence, aren't we? Well, it'll be a long journey. 3 days.
You were being transported? You?
I signed my own grey card.
Supposed to be going?
I don't know.
Direction of Dresden, the Germans said. To a work camp.
You believe the Germans?
We will watch the stations we pass. Dresden is north. We will soon know.
So long as it's not Auschwitz.